Namaskar. This is Mrs. Neela Kalyan Jagdade, and today we'll be discussing the concepts of faults. We'll be talking about different types of faults, and we'll be talking about the closure against faults, that is pertaining to hydrocarbons, yes, mainly. But before that, a short and quick video on what are faults and what are the different types of faults. All right. Okay. So if we are talking about what is faulting in rocks, yeah, see, rocks rupture. See, anything, it has a all the things around us, they have certain limit. Okay, certain limit to withstand pressure. All right, it's like I always say, what is structural geology? If I am defining structural geology, in my previous video I have already mentioned, is that the rocks can take stresses to a certain extent, and after they have taken that particular limit, after they have achieved or reached that particular limit beyond which they cannot take any stresses, they just break. That is their rupture point. Yeah, that is what is and that is when they release energy, and when they release such a lot of energy, it may lead to a fault, it may lead to faulting, which will lead to blocks, rock blocks, huge rock blocks moving past one another. Yeah, that is what is faulting. See, there is difference in between what is fracture and what is fault. And there is a saying that goes that all faults are fractures, but not all fractures are faults. Means what? That means all faults are fractures. Fractures, it is a weak plane. What is a fracture? It is nothing but it is a weak plane. Yeah. So all faults are fractures, but not all fractures are faults. Yes. That means not all the fractures have displacement along it, and that is why not all the fractures are faults. Now, having said this, I am saying one thing, that is, whenever there is displacement, along fractures, that is what is a fault. Whenever the rock blocks move past one another, whenever, say you have here, whenever the rock blocks move past one another, that is what is faulting. Yeah. Now we have understood what are faults. Now we will just understand the two different types of faults. Two main, rather, I will say, different types of faults. That is, one is gravitational fault, which is also known as a normal fault, and we have something known as reverse fault, which is known as thrust fault. Yes. Now we understand what is gravitational fault first. See, understand one thing. Supposing if you have a fault, yes, and I'll just draw blocks over here just so that you understand the concept. Okay. Here. Alright. Now here what has happened, you have this faulting. This, I have just drawn this line, this is fault, but this entire section is a fault plane. Yes. This entire place in between is a fault plane. This shaded region, this is a fault plane. Yeah, this is a fault plane. Now, after the fault, what has happened? There's vertical movement. Yes, you get to see vertical movement here. And in this vertical movement, how is the movement? Which block has gone where? Now understand one thing. This is an inclined fault. Yes, you have two things. Either you have a vertical fault, you have a inclined fault. Inclination, anything in between 0 degrees, or that is horizontal, to 90 degrees. In between this region, anything, whatever you get, that is what is an inclined fault. Yeah. Beyond 90 you will not have anything. 90 is the highest angle that is. Even 90 is not even the angle. 89 degrees is the angle, because 90 is nothing but it is vertical. Yeah. So that will be categorized as vertical fault. And whenever you have a vertical fault, you do not have what is known as hanging wall block, and neither do you have a foot wall block. Yes. So what are we having here? We have a vertical fault, and we have, I just explained to you that in between the horizontal surface, the surface of the earth, and the vertical 90 degrees, whatever inclination you get, that is what is inclined fault. If you have faults which are aligned in such a way that they make an angle, yes, then that is inclined fault. Now, whenever we are talking about inclined fault, we have something known as footwall block and hanging wall block. Now what is hanging wall block and what is footwall block? Let's understand this concept. See, whenever we have, so say for example a fault, yeah, I'll first just draw this line for you and then we'll move ahead. This is a fault, for example, yeah, and the line is inclined, right, in between, from the surface horizontal and this vertical, in between that you have this line which is inclined. Therefore we categorize this fault as inclined fault. Now on this inclined fault, say supposing you're supposed to be walking, you want to walk on this fault, or you want to walk in this fault plane. Say this is a fault plane, correct? You want to walk in this fault plane. What will you do? You will start walking on the surface where you can keep your feet, right? So on these two blocks, yes, on which block can you keep your feet? You can keep your feet on this left hand side block, yeah. See, I'll just explain it here. If you want to keep your feet, how will you keep your feet? You'll keep your feet here. Getting me? Where will you keep your feet? You'll keep your feet here, right? So that block, you cannot keep your feet on this side block, correct? You can keep your feet on the block which is below. Where you're getting me? I hope you're understanding, yeah? So that block on which you can keep your feet is known as footwall block. So this side you will be having footwall block, yeah? It is also known as FWP, that is footwall block. Footwall block, yeah? And then that block which is hanging over your head, yeah, is known as hanging wall block. So what do you call this as? Hanging wall block, HWB, that is hanging wall block. Yes. So now if you have understood the concept of what is footwall block and what is hanging wall block, we move ahead to understanding what is a gravitational fault or a normal fault and what is a reverse or a thrust fault. Yeah. So here we go. Now this is a fault plane. Yeah. In this fault plane, as I said, on which block will you be able to keep your feet? On this block, on the left hand side, correct? So which is going to be, what is going to be your footwall block? The one which is on your left hand side, yeah? So this is going to be your footwall block. And the one which is on your right hand side is going to be your hanging wall block. Because if you're going to be walking here, your feet will be here, your head will be here, and this block will be over your head. Therefore, this is going to be a hanging wall block, correct? Now, understand one thing. See, now Einstein's theory, yeah, gravitation, yeah, anything that is hanging, if it falls down, yeah, what will happen? It is supposed to be coming down due to what? Due to gravity, yes. Now, therefore, what is this? What do we understand over here? We understand one thing, that hanging wall block, it is hanging, yes, and therefore, whenever there is faulting and the hanging wall block comes down, it is hanging now. So, if it is coming down, it is due to gravity, and therefore it is known, and therefore it is named as gravity fault. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is known as gravity fault. It is also known as normal fault, reason being, under normal conditions, anything that is hanging should be falling down, correct? Therefore, anything that is hanging should be coming down under normal conditions, and thereby, this kind of fault where the hanging wall block comes down with respect to the footwall block, this kind of fault is also known as a normal fault, okay? Alright? So, and one most important thing that I should be drawing here, whenever you have faults, you should be drawing arrows as to which block has gone up and which block has gone down. Yeah. So, here what has happened, most importantly, this block has gone down and this block has come up. Correct? With respect to one another. Yeah. I think I will not draw the arrow in the fault plane. I will draw it in the block rather. Okay. So that it is more, better. Generally, how we draw it, I'll just show you. See, here what has happened is, this block has come down, the hanging wall block has come down with respect to the footwall block, and therefore we call this as gravity fault or normal fault. Generally, how we draw arrows is, like this for faults. For gravity fault will be like this. when you have hanging wall block, and this is the foot wall block, and you get to see displacement where the hanging wall block is come down and foot wall block is gone up, and otherwise you have the hanging wall block gone up and the foot wall block coming down, it has come down. So this is hanging wall block gone up and the foot wall block has come down. When will this happen? This will happen in situations which is not normal. Yeah. When will this happen? See, whenever the pressures are such that the hanging wall block is pushed up. Yeah, it is pushed up with respect to the foot wall block. See, when you are pushing it, you are getting me? Yes, the hanging wall block is being pushed. See, whenever you are driving a car, what do? We accelerate. What are we doing? We are pressing the accelerator. We are giving thrust. We are giving thrust. Getting me? Therefore, this kind of fault where I'll again draw one block diagram. Therefore, this kind of fault where the hanging wall block has gone up with respect to the foot wall block is known as reverse fault, because this happens under reverse conditions. It is just reverse to what is gravity fault or normal fault. It is known as reverse fault or thrust fault. Yes. So this is the fault plane. Again shade this with purple color. This is the fault plane and yellow color resembling this hanging wall block going up and this foot wall block coming down, and to label it, this is hanging wall block HWB, this is foot wall block which has come down, and this kind of fault is known as reverse fault, or it is also known as thrust fault. Yes, and just to give abbreviations, we'll write here. FWB stands for foot wall block and HWB stands for hanging wall block. Yes? Yeah? So, I hope you understood, as to what are faults and two main types of faults, that is what is normal or gravity fault and what is reverse fault. Reverse fault is when the hanging wall block is pushed up with respect to the foot wall block, yes, due to the pressures which are exerted on the hanging wall block such that, it is being pushed up. Thrust given, therefore it goes up with respect to the foot wall block. That is what is reverse fault or thrust fault. And in a normal condition, anything that is hanging falls down. Therefore, whenever the hanging wall block comes down, remember it like that. It becomes easier to remember if you understand concepts, right? So, whenever the hanging wall block comes down with respect to the foot wall block, that is what is gravity fault, because under normal conditions, anything due to gravity, anything that is hanging, it comes down, it falls down, and or it is also known as normal fault because it is under normal conditions. So this is how you remember things here, yeah. So I'll just stop you for this video, and further I'll be uploading even more videos, making videos rather, and we'll understand the concept of up thrown block and down thrown block in the down dip direction pertaining to petroleum. Yeah, whenever we are seeking for hydrocarbons, exploring hydrocarbons, how do we do, and where should we be looking, and how do we find the closure? In my last video, yeah, the previous video, we discussed the concept of what is closure and closed area, and the one which is mainly in relation to doubly plunging anticline. So now we'll be talking about closure against fault. Yeah, and in fault also now there are two main types of faults. Therefore, we'll be talking about closure, in two different types of faults. Yes. So we'll stop it for now, and do keep watching and keep studying, keep learning, keep reading rather. Yeah. All the best. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.